The first topic will be explained by me, Ega Dasari, and it will be about the involvement of community participations in educational innovation. Knowing and understanding the role and involvement of the community participations is essential to an improvement strategy in education. Knowing whether and how much practices are changing within classrooms and educational organizations, how community develop and use their pedagogical resources, and to what extent change can be linked to improvements would provide a substantial increase in the education knowledge base. There are at least 4 of participants in education. The first one is School Committee. The School Committee is an independent group of elected members responsible for managing and overseeing the activities of a primary school and to provide it with community support. The School Committee is overall in charge of the school. Its key roles are to sensitize, involve, and effectively communicate educational information to all parents, students, community stakeholders, and to local authorities, and to work together with the head teacher and other teachers to make priorities and prepare a whole school development plan and budget. School Committee is encouraged to review their current supporting structures, policies, and procedures and develop new ones where necessary. This may include establishing a dedicated family school action team of school leaders, teachers, and parents, or using an existing working group that includes all school committee participants to develop and coordinate all plans and activities. The second one is students, parents, or guardian. Families are the first educators of their children, and they continue to influence their children's learning and development during the school years and long afterwards. Schools have an important responsibility in helping to nurture and teach future generations, and families trust schools to provide educational foundation for their children's future. At the same time, schools need to recognize the primary role of the family in education. This is why it is important for families and schools to work together in partnership. Research demonstrates that effective schools have high levels of parental and community involvement. This involvement is strongly related to improved student learning, attendance, and behavior. Family involvement can have a major impact on student learning, regardless of the social or cultural background of the family. The aim of the involvement of students' parents is to encourage sustainable and effective partnerships between all members of the school community, including teachers, families, and students. The results of this effort will be significant. Families that understand the education system and the difficulties schools face are a valuable source of support which schools cannot afford to underestimate. Schools that engage families in their children's learning are tapping into a rich source of information and expertise and can help build communities. Family involvement in schools is therefore central to high-quality education and is part of the core business of schools. The third one is Education Council. The Education Council is an institution that seeks to manage and run the social, cultural, religion, skill, and expertise research, which in terms of intellectual, spiritual, and practical education. As a place where people come together rationally and systematically, well-organized, leadership and control and so on that are used efficiently and effectively for educational purposes. Different with School Committee, we can see that the Education Council is wider and more universal. The existence of the Education Council must rely on planning community participation in improving the quality of education in the regions. Therefore, its formation must pay attention to the division of roles in accordance with the existing position and autonomy. The following roles are carried out by the Education Council. The first one, providing consideration in the assignment and implementation of educational policies. The second one, as a supporting institution, both in the form of finance, encouraging, and personnel in the administration of education. The third one is a controlling institution within the framework of the approval and accountability of the administration and distribution of education. And the last one as mediator between the government or executive and the regional House of Representatives or legislative and the community. The Education Council will facilitate community aspirations and practice transparency, accountability, and democratic management in education. And the last one is learning resources. The purpose and role of teaching and learning resources don't only consist of making the educational process more attractive and interesting, but also of encouraging active learning, the development of different skills, and the adoption of desirable values and attitudes of students. Teaching and learning resources can be differentiated according to their different characteristics that are apparent at first glance. Their different communication systems or using the senses utilized by students in the process of receiving the information as a typology criterion. In the field of didactic theory, as well as in the teaching practice, the classification of teaching and learning resources into visual, auditory, and audiovisual resources is almost universally accepted. Now, we can see that all the community participations have their own roles and involvement in education, especially in terms of educational innovation. From the very broad ones, Educational Council and School Committee have their authorities as supporting and controlling institutions, as well as facilitating the improvement of school management to be more effective and innovative. And for the specific ones, learning resources has its role. Instead of making the learning process running monotonously with all kinds of resources with different variety, it will help this process to be more innovative and engage students' active learning. And the last one, the role of students' parents is important not only for the students' attitudes and achievement at school, but also to encourage students' learning out of school while to be kept in a position to support school goals and directions.
Okay, now we are going to talk about community participation in Indonesia context and in worldwide context with me, Cynthia Bella Effendi. First, we have in Indonesia context. In Indonesia, community participation has been regulated in Article 4 of Law Number 20, years 2003, on System of National Education and the Regulation of Minister of Education and Culture of Republic Indonesia, Number 75, years 2016, on School Committee emphasizes that education should be implemented by empowering all the components of community through their participation in the implementation and quality control of educational service. It also explains the community rights and obligations. It states that the community is entitled to participate in the stages of planning, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating educational program. The community also has an obligation to provide resources for implementation of education. Actually, the community can participate comprehensively in every process of implementation of education at school. Second, we have in worldwide context. This principle undergirds a lot of thinking around the benefits of community involvement in school. Watt argues that accommodating the concern, needs and interests of communities in educational planning and management can help to generate strong demand for education and improve enrollment, attainment and achievement. The positive correlation between community participation in school and outcomes for students, school and communities is confirmed by research from diverse settings including Latin America, North America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Southeast Asia. The relationship forged as part of community and parental involvement also go a long way in determining the culture, pedagogy, and overall perception of students. The participation of communities seems to hold the potential to fulfill rights to education. However, Anderson suggests that access to governance structures, which community participation provides, might not affect decision-making, but result in contrive collegiality, reinforced profile, and greater control of participants. For example, community participation in education in Egypt has taken several forms over the years. Before the 2005 decision to establish boards in schools, the traditional form of this participation was manifested in the role played by parents' councils at the school levels. Teaching is the process of attending to people's needs, experience, feeling, and making specific intervention to help them learn particular things. There are two methods in teaching. The first is traditional teaching method and innovative teaching method. Traditional teaching method. In most parts of our country, traditional teaching methods are used in educational institutions. In the traditional teaching method, teacher illustrates the concept of the student with the help of the chalks and blackboard. Every important thing regarding the topic is written on the blackboard and the student make important notes from the blackboard. After the lecture is over, students revise their notes and try to memorize the notes. The goals of traditional teaching is to pass the examination, but there are some limitations in traditional teaching method. The first is teaching in classroom using chalk and talk is one-way flow of information. The second is teachers often continuously talk for an hour without knowing student response and the feedback. The third is the material presented is only based on lecture notes and textbook. The fourth is more emphasis has been given on theory without any practical and real-life time situation. The fifth is learning from memorization but not understanding. And the last is focus on the result. Innovative teaching method. Education should focus on fostering innovation by putting curiosity, critical thinking, deep understanding, the rules and the tools of inquiry and creative brainstorming at the center of curriculum. There are some innovative tools suggested for classroom teaching. The first is photographing whiteboard. The new means of the technology changed the classroom experience so students can revise the image as digital files. The second is mind maps, a simple technique for drawing information in diagrams instead of writing it in sentence. Mind maps help to remember their shape and structure, can provide the cues necessary to remember the information within. They engage much more of the brain in the process of assimilating and connecting facts than conventional notes. The third is the sense of humor. Students always like lively and delightful personality, and that is natural. If the teacher, wherever he or she wants in a humorous, delightful, and entertaining way, he or she can easily achieve the target. And the last is role-playing and scenario analysis. One main advantage of role-playing is the possibility to encourage evaluation and synthesis of the subject matter, while practically taking students off their chairs and allow them to learn it by doing. In addition, it is the role of the teacher to explain for the student that is not only for fun, but for an opportunity to participate in learning process. So we can conclude there are some differences between traditional teaching method with the innovative teaching method. The first is, in the traditional teaching method, teacher as the center, while in innovative teaching method, the student as the center of learning. The second is, in the traditional teaching method, more likely textbook, while innovative is more up-to-date primary information resources. And the last is, mostly in the traditional teaching has individual tasks, while in innovative has many working in team.